Level 1. The Clerk. You're 26 years old and you think you're just an IT systems analyst at a mid-sized logistics company in Northern Virginia. You take the metro, you eat lunch at Panera, you have a government clearance you got for a contract job 2 years ago that you've already forgotten about. Your desk has a stress ball and a photo of your dog and a monitor that faces the wall because you sit in the worst cubicle in the building. You're the most boring person in this building. That's exactly why they're watching you. There's a man in a gray suit who has ridden the same metro car as you 14 times in the last 3 months. You haven't noticed him. He's noticed everything about you. He knows you have no criminal record. He knows you speak conversational Arabic from a college minor you thought was useless. He knows you're single, have no debt, and no close family within 500 miles. You are a clean sheet of paper, and someone in a building with no name is deciding whether to write on you. Your setting is a cubicle that smells like carpet cleaner and recycled air. Your risk is nothing. You have no risk because you don't know you're being evaluated. That's the safest you will ever be. Enjoy it. The moment you become aware of what's happening is the moment safety becomes a word you'll spend the rest of your career trying to remember the meaning of. Your reward is ignorance. You still sleep 8 hours a night. That's a luxury you're about to lose permanently. Level 2. The Recruit. A woman approaches you in a coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. She knows your name and she knows where you went to college. She asks if you've ever considered government service and hands you a business card with no logo, no company name, just a phone number with a 703 area code. You call the number 3 days later because curiosity is a door that only opens from the inside. A voice answers, no greeting, just, "We've been expecting your call." If you're watching this and you want to see what happens when an ordinary person walks through a door that doesn't officially exist, subscribe to Life Tier TV, because by level 10, this person won't exist either. They bring you to a building in McLean, Virginia. The lobby looks like a corporate office. The security does not. You walk through a metal detector, a biometric scanner, and a room where a man who doesn't introduce himself asks you 247 questions in 4 hours. Some are about your childhood, some are about your political views, some are about hypothetical scenarios involving a locked room, a foreign national, and a decision that has no right answer. Your setting is a windowless interview room with a table bolted to the floor. Your risk is failing the polygraph, not because you're lying, but because your body doesn't know how to be interrogated and your heart rate betrays you on questions about whether you've ever stolen anything. You stole a candy bar when you were 9. The machine sees it the same way it sees treason. Your reward is a provisional clearance badge. It's white. It gets you into exactly 3 rooms in this building. The rest of the building doesn't exist to you yet. Level 3. The Trainee. They send you to a place they call the farm. It's in rural Virginia. It looks like a college campus designed by someone who hates windows. You live in a dormitory with 16 other recruits. You don't use your real name. They give you a cover name on day 1. Your real identity is placed in a file that goes into a vault. For the next 18 months, you learn things that aren't taught at any university. Surveillance detection routes, dead drops, brush passes, how to spot a tail in a crowd of 10,000, how to build a cover identity that can withstand interrogation, how to lie to someone's face while your pulse stays at 62. Your setting is a training compound surrounded by forest monitored by cameras you're supposed to find. Your risk is washing out. 30% of recruits don't finish. They go home and sign an NDA and spend the rest of their lives knowing they almost became something they can never talk about. Your reward is a blue badge. It gets you into 14 more rooms. One of those rooms contains a wall of stars. Each star represents an officer who died in the field. There are no names under the stars. Some of them never will have names. You stare at that wall, and you understand for the first time what you volunteered for. Level 4. The Analyst. You're assigned to a desk at headquarters. You process intelligence reports from field stations around the world. You read cables from officers whose names are redacted. You piece together patterns in data the way a mechanic reads engine noise. Your computer has no USB ports. Your phone stays in a locker. You write your analysis in a system that doesn't connect to any network the public has ever heard of. Your work goes into a briefing book that sits on a desk in the West Wing by 6 a.m. every morning. The person who reads it doesn't know your name. You don't know theirs. Your setting is a fluorescent-lit operations center with clocks showing the time in 7 cities. Your risk is misreading a signal, writing that a threat is dormant when it's active, or flagging something as urgent when it's noise. A wrong call at your level doesn't get you fired. It gets people killed in a time zone you'll never visit. Your reward is a TSSCI clearance with compartmented access. You can now read files that 99.98% of the government cannot. The weight of what you know changes how you walk through airports. Level 5, the handler. You're no longer reading reports, you're creating them. They assign you an asset, a foreign national who's agreed to provide intelligence to the United States in exchange for money, protection, or the particular kind of revenge that only betrayal can deliver. You meet your asset in a hotel room in Istanbul. He's a mid-level official in a ministry you can't name. He's terrified. He should be. If his government finds out what he's doing, he will be executed. Not arrested, not tried, executed in a room that doesn't appear on any floor plan. Your job is to keep him alive, productive, and loyal, in that order. Loyalty is the hardest because loyalty is a commodity that depreciates under fear. Your setting is a rotating series of safe houses, hotel rooms, and parked cars in cities whose names change in your reports. Your risk is your asset getting burned. If he's caught, you lose the intelligence. If he talks, you lose the network. If he's killed, you carry that weight forever because you're the one who convinced him that the risk was worth it. Your reward is an operational alias, a full-cover identity backed with a legend that includes a passport, a credit history, and a job at a company that exists only on paper. You are now two people. The second one is better funded. Level 6, the field agent. You deploy overseas. Your cover is a mid-level employee at an American consulting firm. You go to work every day at a real office, you attend real meetings, you send real emails about supply chain logistics that bore everyone who reads them. But twice a week, at irregular intervals, you leave the office for a client meeting that doesn't exist. You drive a surveillance detection route that takes 90 minutes to travel 4 miles. You check your mirrors 340 times, you change direction without signaling, you park in a garage, walk through a mall, exit through a loading dock, enter a different car, and arrive at a location where you meet a person whose real name you will never know. Your setting is a foreign city where the street signs are in a script you've memorized but will never feel natural. Your risk is the local intelligence service. They know what American consulting firms are. They know which ones are covers. They follow you sometimes. The question is whether they follow you always. Your reward is a field commendation that will never appear in any public record. Your file is now classified at a level that doesn't have a name most people would recognize. The work you're doing is referenced by presidential briefings by a code name. The president doesn't know your face. No one does. Level 7, the operative. Deep cover. You've been in country for 2 years. Your cover is no longer something you perform, it's something you live. You dream in the local language. You have friends who don't know what you are. You have a relationship with a woman who thinks you're an engineer from Connecticut. You lie to her face every morning. You lie to her the way you breathe, automatically, continuously, without effort. The lie has become the life, and the life has become the lie, and the space between them is shrinking to a width you can't measure anymore. Your setting is an apartment in a city where the man next door works for the intelligence service you're penetrating. You can hear him through the wall. Your risk is everything. One phone call to the wrong number, one receipt from a restaurant you shouldn't have been near, one expression on your face that doesn't match the emotion you're performing, one moment of being yourself. Your reward is access. You now attend events where generals, ministers, and intelligence chiefs share tables and share secrets. You are inside the machine you were sent to photograph. The camera is your memory. The film is your reporting cable. Every handshake is an intelligence collection opportunity disguised as a social obligation. Level 8, the specialist. You've been pulled from your cover for a specific operation. Black budget, no paper trail. The team is 4 people. You know their first names and nothing else. The mission involves a facility in a country that the United States is not officially operating in. If you're caught, the government will deny your existence the way you deny a wrong number. Your setting is a forward operating base that appears on no map, inside a building that's registered as an agricultural warehouse. Your equipment is in cases with no markings. Your communications are encrypted on devices that will brick themselves if tampered with. Your extraction plan has 3 contingencies. None of them are comfortable. Your risk is capture. At this level, capture doesn't mean a jail cell. It means an interrogation facility operated by a service that doesn't observe the conventions you were trained to cite. You carry a pill in a compartment in your belt that you've been briefed on but told never to use. The fact that they briefed you on it tells you everything about the probability of extraction. Your reward is a star on a wall you saw as a trainee, but the star isn't yours yet. The reward is survival. The reward is walking out of a country that doesn't know you were there and sitting on a military transport and watching the ground disappear and knowing you're alive because every single thing went exactly right and nothing in this life ever goes exactly right twice. Level 9. The Shadow. Knock, not official cover. You have no diplomatic immunity, you have no embassy to run to, you carry no credential that identifies you as an American intelligence officer. If you're arrested in the country you're operating in, you are a citizen of whatever your legend says you are. And your legend says you're a Canadian IT contractor, and Canada has no idea you exist. You report to one person. You meet that person once every 6 weeks in a location chosen by an algorithm. You communicate through a system that involves chalk marks on a bridge and a digital dead drop embedded in the metadata of a photograph posted to a stock photo website. Your setting is total immersion. You have been this person for 4 years. Your real name sounds foreign to you now. You've missed funerals, weddings, births. Your mother thinks you work for a tech company in Singapore. She mails birthday cards to a P.O. box that's forwarded through 3 countries before someone who is not you reads them to confirm they contain no security risk and then shreds them. Your risk is psychological collapse, the isolation, the permanence of the lie, the moment you forget which version of yourself is real. Officers at this level don't burn out. They erode, like a coastline, slowly, then suddenly, then the shape of what's left doesn't resemble what was there before. Your reward is knowing things that will never be declassified. You have influenced the foreign policy of nations without anyone knowing a hand was on the wheel. Your work has prevented things the public will never be afraid of because they'll never know the things almost happened. The absence of a headline is your performance review. Level 10. The Ghost. You don't exist. Your birth certificate has been altered. Your social security number routes to a deceased person in a state you've never visited. Your fingerprints are not in any domestic database. Your face does not trigger any recognition algorithm because your photograph has been removed from every system that feeds them. You are the most protected and the most alone a human being can be. You answer to a designator, not a name. Your designator changes every 90 days. The person who assigns it has never met you. They know you by your results, which appear in a file that's stored in a facility built into the side of a mountain. Your setting is nowhere and everywhere. You operate in a space between nations, between identities, between the version of the world the public sees and the version that actually runs. You are the hand that moves the piece that changes the game that the audience didn't know was being played. Your risk is existence itself. Every breath is a data point. Every footprint is a signature. Every connection to another human being is a thread that can be pulled until the entire fabric unravels. You trust no one because trust is a vulnerability, and vulnerability is a death sentence pronounced in a language that has no word for mercy. Your reward? You've kept the world from ending 3 times. Nobody thanked you. Nobody can. The people who know what you did can be counted on one hand, and 2 of them are dead. You are a ghost. You are the most effective intelligence officer your country has ever produced, and the only proof you ever existed is a star on a wall in a lobby in Virginia. A star with no name under it. Because the name doesn't exist anymore. Neither do you.